your hand off my penis!
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back once again. Today we're going to be taking a look at something from Bestechman, a brand new model just released on July 28th of 2023. I'm a little bit late getting this video out, unfortunately. I've had a lot of videos that I've had to get out, and this one unfortunately got pushed by about 2 weeks. And this is the brand new Mini Dundee. For those of you that have watched in the past few months, I did a review of the original Dundee, and I was actually really impressed with a knife in this price category. Now, I try to be as fair as possible and try to give you a good balance of the high-end customs that you're accustomed to me bringing out, higher-end production knives, as well as a few budget knives every now and then. And so far, the ones that have impressed me the most for under $100 have been from Bestechman and Civivi. And I got to tell you, the action on this thing is pretty darn incredible. Now, if you thought the original Dundee was a little bit too large for you, this one might just be the one you need to go for. And don't worry, I'm going to be getting back to some higher-end knives very soon. One of the next videos I'm going to be making is on this bad boy right here, this R.J. Martin and Shirogorov collaboration. These are just about $2,000, just a hair under. And something else very special, also in that same price range, around $2,000. So don't worry, if you're not interested in budget-type knives, I am going to be bringing out some fancier collectible knives for you in the very near future. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but I promise I will make this very brief. I want to thank those of you that have joined and become channel members. You are helping to support the channel and helping to continue the growth. And if you've been considering supporting the channel in any way, shape, or form, because I do not have channel sponsors, I don't shill anybody's products, I don't get paid for anything, I don't do affiliate links, so everything is completely self-funded. If you'd like to help out and watch the channel grow and get more great content coming your way, please do consider becoming a member. Now, before we get into the specs, I'm going to do the Tldw. That is my highline points for the knife, the pros and the cons, the things I like, the things I don't like, and hopefully gives you an idea on whether or not this is worth your investment. Now, when I say investment, I'm just using that term very loosely because you're looking at a knife that's selling on BladeHQ for 43 bucks. So you're in that $40 price range, which for a lot of knife collectors isn't going to be a price range they look in very often. If you're a collector, you're typically looking at much more expensive knives. But here's a great knife that's an alternative to having just something that you're carrying in your pocket or maybe displaying in your display case as a true collectible. This is something that you can use every day for your normal cutting tasks as an EDC knife that you're not really going to worry about damaging, destroying, marking up in some fashion because you have very little invested into it. And that's really appealing for a lot of collectors, but also for the regular everyday Joe that's not a particular, segment of knife collector. They're just buying knives because they need something good to use. This, I think, is going to be an excellent choice. And you're going to get some features that are going to feel like a higher end knife. Because I can tell you right now, if this knife had no markings on it whatsoever, and you just handed it to the average person, they would be blown away. If they're normally spending under $100 for a knife, they would not believe the action on this thing. They wouldn't believe how solid it feels, how great it locks up, and how it pretty much disappears in the hand. Yet when you get that blade open, you've got a lot of useful blade edge there, making it seem a little bit larger than it actually is. So we're going to start off here on the Tldw with the pros. The biggest pro for me is going to be what I've already mentioned a couple of times, that action. First off, the detent is fantastic. It's nice and snappy without being abusive. We've all had flippers that in order to get a lightning fast, rocket-like action, the detent felt like you were damn near breaking your finger to get it open. This isn't like that. It's a little strong, but it's very easy to get it to break. And once it does, it's very smooth on the bearings. And as you see here, the closing action is also silky smooth. They've done a fantastic job on that detent, which is not always easy to do on a liner lock. Liner locks can be a little bit more finicky with the detents because you're not usually getting a ton of lock bar pressure up against the blade where the detent sets into the detent hole. And they have somehow perfected it on this $43 knife. The jimping on the flipper tab is also done very, very well. So you've got great traction for your flipper finger. Your finger's not going to slip off as you're trying to get that detent to break. But it's not like a cheese grater where it's tearing up your skin every time you snag it. Another thing I like is this unique color of G10. This is a newer color of G10 that I only saw pop up from suppliers maybe about a year or two ago. I don't even think it's been a full 2 years, to be honest with you, maybe about a year or so. Bestech is calling it an ice cream blue. I forget what the actual color from the suppliers are on the G10. I think maybe they just call it light blue. I don't really remember. But I remember seeing it when it first popped up. I think it was probably Alpha Knife Supply that had them first, that had scale sets in this color. I was like, man, that is really, really cool and something very different from what's normally out there. Now, I haven't personally worked with it. The last G10 order I think I made was for gray G10, just to make it, just to combine it with orange and some other colors. But I thought this was a really unique color, very slick, very cool, and it's going to be a standout from many of the other knives that you may have in your collection in standard black G10 or orange G10 or red G10 or maybe carbon fiber. This is going to be a color that pops and is quite different. Another thing that I like is they are fairly minimal on their branding. It does say Bestechman and their logo on the blade, laser etched. And then on the back side here, you have the collaboration designer's name, Ostap Hel Design. And Ostap Hel has been doing some incredible work with a lot of different brands, and they have brought out some very reasonably priced facsimiles of his custom designs because he is a custom knife maker. So if you don't want to wait, whatever his wait time is, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years, I don't know, and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a knife of his, you can get into one of his designs very, very affordably. And that's going to bring me to my final pro. It's going to be the price. This is, for many people, a throwaway knife price at $43. Now, I realize that doesn't encompass everybody out there that may possibly buy this knife, but for collectors that are normally spending hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars on a knife, this is a knife they can feel comfortable with, maybe sticking in the center console of their car or in a toolbox or something where it may get lost, damaged, stolen, destroyed in some fashion, where it's easy for them to get to whenever they want to. But if something were to happen to it, you're not going to cry too many tears because you didn't lose hundreds of dollars or a couple $1,000s on that particular knife. It's something that's easily replaced. It's a full production knife. There's plenty of them being made, and the price is super affordable. Now, for the cons, judging the knife on its merits in the price point that it resides in, there really aren't any cons that I can come up with. Now, if I were to really nitpick and just look at it just as a serious hardcore collector that only buys much more expensive knives, yeah, I'd say the D2 steel would be a con. Just because it's not going to give you a very long life on that edge. You're going to be touching up that edge, stropping it, and resharpening it fairly often if it's a regular use knife. And it can rust or corrode fairly easily. However, this has a titanium coating over the steel. So what you really only have to worry about is the exposed steel on the edge. So anytime you're using it in an environment where you could be introducing any type of corrosion, you just want to keep that edge clean and keep it dry, I would suggest using something like Wicked Wax or Aegis Solutions EDCI to give it that extra layer of protection so that it's not going to rust or corrode. But other than that, I mean, I really can't knock it. Based on the build quality, the design, and the price point that they're hitting, I think they've knocked it out of the park. I think it's a fantastic deal all the way around. You have a reversible pocket clip here. You've got a nicely textured G10. So once you've got a hold of this, it's going to stay solid and firm in your hands. It's a size where I think most people, no matter how restrictive their state is, I think most people are going to be allowed to own and carry it. I know there are plenty of people that live in areas where you can't carry over a 3-inch blade in a folding knife that's concealed in your pocket, and this is 2.97 inches. I'm sorry, 2.92 inches, so it's just under 3 inches. You have a blade thickness of 126 thousandths thick. That means it's not going to be overly thick. It's not a very heavy knife, and it's going to be nice and slicey at that edge. It's got a nice 3/4 flat grind. It comes down nice and sharp. They did a good job on the edge. Now, this is a utility edge. It's got a little bit of toothiness to it. You can see that it's a low grit pattern. It's not like it's a mirror polished edge. Mirror polished edges really aren't all that useful anyway, besides, you know, taking Instagram pictures or something. This is going to be an edge. It's going to be a little bit toothy, and it's going to actually perform cutting very, very well. They don't have a lot of room here for resharpening, unfortunately. This plunge, it's as far back as it can go where the blade is set, because you really don't want your plunge set back behind your frame. It's very unprofessional. But if they had come in just a little bit steeper, then they could have given you a little bit more room with that sharpening notch to give you a little bit of extra space. It's already making a little bit of a smiley. Now, for me, that's never a deal breaker, because there are plenty of very, very expensive knives, very high quality knives that will have the same thing. So I'm not saying that that's a reason not to get it. I'm just making you aware that that is there, so that you don't buy it and go, why the hell didn't Jim point that out? Well, I pointed it out, but it's not really a negative to me. Now, as far as my overall thoughts, the basic review portion of this, I like it because it's lightweight. It's very easy to carry. It's got a serviceable clip. It's not fancy. It's not pretty. It doesn't really flow with the design of the knife, but it's got the right amount of tension. It's just enough to keep it secure in the pocket without making it difficult to get in or out of the pocket. You've got a clean pass-through design with the standoffs there. So it's kind of easy for maintenance, easy to keep clean, kind of blow dust and dirt and debris and pocket lint out of there pretty easily. The jimping is really fine and really, really nice. You're going to be able to get into position on there and do whatever cutting you need without your thumb sliding up the blade. No worries at all whatsoever. And the jimping of the flipper tab also works, since the flipper tab is kind of working as a finger guard. You've got that biting into you, this biting into you. It's going to prevent you from, maybe you're kind of stabbing into something and you don't want your hand to slide up the blade. It's going to hold you in nice and secure. I love the pivot. I like the fact that they're putting their logo there in the pivot. Adjustability is from the back side. It looks like a T6. I haven't broken out any tools and actually tried to do anything with it, but it looks like a T6 to mine eyes. And that's pretty much it. So I think overall, for $42, $43, I think it's a solid choice. It's going to be a good user. It's going to be a fun knife to kind of fidget and play with. One thing I haven't tried reverse flicking it off that fuller. No, you can't even get into it. I don't really even know why they have it notched out to reach the fuller there, because you really can't even use it. I don't know. At least maybe I can't. Maybe you can. I don't know. But I think it's a nice, clean design. Ostap Hel always does beautiful, clean. I don't want to say simple. It doesn't mean anything derogatory, but when I say simple, he's got very clean lines, a very simple design language that's functional before fashionable. So yes, it is handsome. It is a nice looking design, but it's going to be very functional and easy to use. So I think overall, if you're looking for something in an affordable price range and you want something that's lightweight, smaller sized, easy to carry, has an outstanding action, and kind of does everything you want your more expensive knives to do, this is going to be a great way to go. The only thing that holds it back for me really is the D2 steel. Again, D2 is not the worst thing in the world. A lot of people will tell you that D2, I don't know, like it murdered their dog or something, or gave their rabbit cancer. D2 is not really all that bad. The grain structure doesn't allow you to get down to a super crazy fine edge like many of the micro clean super steels that are out there these days. You're never going to compare the D2 to VanX Super Clean or even M390. But it's still a good, serviceable steel. It's easy to keep sharp. You're just going to have to touch it up a little bit more often than many of your more premium steels. But when you're in this price range, you can't expect to get S45VN, S90V, VanX Super Clean, or Maximet or anything like that. It's just not going to be possible. I think for the entire package, with this price, I think it's a winner all the way around.